just
Hello, everybody.
asking.
Welcome back to another episode of Finance Agents Live. This is episode number 77. Rhoda was talking about...
77. No, I want to say something about 77 because
right.
we're talking about werewolves.
Stop the show.
And so 77, it's good that we've got, the
We're talking
magic,
about werewolves?
perfect, good number
Vampires,
to protect us from...
Is that a thing?
There was a conversation earlier today
Well,
about werewolves
we're going to get into that.
vampires.
We haven't yeah. All right. So
This is my
77 is something you put up to protect yourself from werewolves. Okay. All right. There it is. All right. Welcome to episode 77, Protect Yourself from Werewolves. Today we're going to be talking about 5 silver bullet questions to ask your leads to get the heck rid of them and how that helps you end up making a lot more money.
The
right?
vampire time suckers.
Vampire time suckers. Now, okay, when we put this thing together, I didn't realize that we screwed it up big time. These are 5 silver bullets to kill vampires, and of course, Darren pointed out, silver bullets don't kill vampires. Only blessed bullets do, or silver bullets to werewolves. That's how we get into the werewolves thing. Anyway, long story short, who cares? You should get the idea. Silver bullets are killing, or you need these. You need these 5 silver bullets
I have something to say.
kill your vampire time-sucking leads that are sucking the life out of you and leaving you for dead. And Rhoda has something to say.
There's another really good podcast called Myths and Legends. If you're interested in this stuff, it's really great.
Yeah?
See, Darren likes it too.
All right.
And you would have known about the werewolf
apparently I need to
versus
listen to that.
vampire nonsense.
Okay, well, good. Anyway,
Yeah, it's really good. It's really fun.
See?
sweet. All right,
Doesn't
so
want to listen.
listen to that after you fund your deals and the extra time you're going to have after getting rid of all those crappy leads. So, all right, so what are we talking about here? How on earth is it that you can kill your leads to make more money? That's what we're talking about today. If you have a personal experience with this, you want to talk about it, feel free to put it in the chat. If you're new to the show, subscribe. We're talking about all sorts of vampires and werewolves.
Great business
and podcasts,
things.
business podcasts. Okay, so let's jump into this. I'm supposed to push some buttons here, all right? This is new. Okay, first of all, what are the benefits, right? I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do, but first I want you to understand what are the benefits of killing your leads. Now, this is really hard for me, right? Because as a business owner, you're spending money to get leads. It's either your time that you're investing or actual money. You're buying leads somewhere, you're putting up a website, you're spending a lot of money to get leads. So inherently, the last thing I want to do is get rid of them once I have them. But that's exactly what we're talking about doing. Right, Rhoda?
Right. Some people don't qualify, and you got to screen them out quickly so that you can spend time focusing on the leads that will bear fruits of your labor.
Right, bear fruits. There's nothing that makes me more angry than watching a salesperson waste good leads. So this has been a really difficult lesson for me to learn over the years, and I want you to listen through that lens. Let's imagine you just spent $50,000 on leads. I've been there, I've done it. And you see people wasting them, and you think that is a waste of money. But you really need to get rid of the bad leads fast so they don't suck up all your time.
Because that's money too.
Because that is something
Time
that's
is money.
irreplaceable, is your time that you're investing, right? So what are the benefits of doing this? Let's start there, and then we'll get into specifics and an example to show you exactly what we mean. And then we'll give you the 5 silver bullets that are going to help you kill off all those vampires. So what are the primary
Werewolves.
benefits here
Werewolves.
of killing this? It's vampires, right? Even though it's wrong, it's vampires. Time-sucking vampire. Werewolves
it's
eat
blade
you.
vampires.
They
Blade
don't
vampires.
suck your blood. The vampire leads suck your time. All right, so what are the benefits? What's a benefit here, Rhoda?
Well, I think the number one benefit is that you'll have extra time to spend curating your good leads and spend time nurturing those leads who will produce funding. I can't tell you how many times I've gone home and been like, oh, I didn't get back to that person, and that was a good follow-up that I needed to make. And so with getting rid of the ones that don't qualify, you can spend time not going home thinking, oh, I should have done that. I should have called this person. I should have done that. You'll have time to do it.
All right, now I'll give you an example. During the downturn, bankers were losing jobs like crazy, and it was really, really difficult to get a loan funded because there was nowhere for you to go. So you would maybe think that the bankers were sitting around with nothing to do. On the contrary, it was like the busiest they've ever been. They were super busy, but they weren't making money. What I'm talking about is don't waste time on something that you're not going to make money on, right? If you can get rid of all the time you waste on crummy leads, you can invest that time into getting better lead sources or being a better servicer of the leads that actually have value. Imagine actually being available for a phone call when that high value lead calls instead of him having to leave a message or deciding not to leave a message, I'm going to go call somebody who's actually available. So more free time, you can find better lead sources, you give better service to the leads you have, and in general, you're just, what?
Happy.
Happier. And
Happier.
what, besides the obvious benefit of being happier is that you're actually happier, what other benefit comes from being happy?
People want to be around happy people, and so you'll attract better business.
Right.
No?
Yeah.
Yes?
So your clients are going to like you better, your lead partners are going to like you better, and they're more likely to send you more good business. It's a positive loop as opposed to the opposite, right? I have definitely been on the other end of that loop where you're running around like crazy trying to get stuff done, wasting time on things that are never going to generate anything, and you're just angry and you're losing relationships instead of building and curating new ones. Okay, so those are the benefits. So we're going to get into a real specific example. Now, stick with me. If you got questions, please ask, because this can get a little confusing. Here's what it is. We're going to give you an example where you are in a scenario where you get 100 leads. Somebody gives you 100 leads that you're working for these real estate deals, and we'll show you the difference between the normal way, or what most people do, or the way we're recommending if you use your silver bullets to kill off the crummy leads, right? So 100 leads, how many times are you going to call these 100 leads, Rhoda, on average?
Probably about at least 4. You want to call them at least 4, text them, and email as well.
All right, so that's an investment of time. You've got 100 leads, and you're going to call them. Some people you might have to call them 6, 7, 12 times in order to get them. Some people you might get them on the first call. So we sort of guessed on average with 100 leads, you're going to make 400 dials in order to try to get through to them. And we're estimating about 1.5 minutes per dial. Just the process of calling somebody up, maybe leaving a voicemail, that's a lot of time, right? So already you're investing 400 times 1.5, that's 600 minutes you're going to invest just calling these leads, all right? Now out of that, regardless of which session you're going to do, what I've seen is you tend to talk about half of them. You tend to actually get on the phone with about half of your leads. You may have a better lead source, worse lead source, but a lot of leads, you end up getting about half. So now you got 100 calls, so you've invested 600 minutes just getting these people on the phone, and you've talked to 50 people. And here's where you start to see the benefit of our system versus the traditional method. The traditional method is you are going to spend a long time talking to each person, right? So out of those 50 people, you're going to spend about 15 minutes per call, I believe is what we estimated.
Yeah,
or was
it's
it 30,
down there on
30
the
minutes?
bottom, right. See in the notes, 15 minutes. And then with the silver bullet method, we estimate about 5 to 6 minutes per call, because we're going to go through those questions to help you quickly get rid of people and not spend a lot of time on them.
We want you on that first call to be ready to kill the leads fast and move on, and don't waste time on something that's going to suck up your time, right? So the traditional method is you work the heck out of every lead. You're going to be investing 15 minutes per call. In the silver bullet method, you get rid of a lot of people and you're doing 5 minutes for that initial call. So the time difference is significant. You're investing 750 minutes with the old way versus 300 minutes on the new way, and that's for the same 50 leads. All right, so those conversations are going to have a next conversion, right? So you start off with, you get the leads, you get the calls, and then you have an initial conversation. Then you're going to chase the application. So that's the next step, right? So you're chasing these applications. If you're talking to everybody, you're probably going to be chasing applications on people that you can end up helping. That's a total waste of time, right, Rose?
Right.
Is there any benefit of getting an app on somebody you can't get a loan to?
I mean, sometimes I'm still a little traditional. I think, well, maybe something good will happen, but it rarely pans out. And so I do spend a lot of time chasing those 30 leads rather than just immediately getting rid of them. I had an old roommate, he's like, consider it panning for gold. And you just got to sift, 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 sift. And the faster you can sift through those people,
Chuck
the better.
it in the chuck it in the get rid of it bucket. Yeah, so what we're estimating here, these are estimates, it's obviously different per lead source, is that out of 50 conversations, during the traditional method, you probably chase applications on like 30 of those. 20 of them are just obvious, it's not going to help.
Or they don't get back to you.
Or they don't get back, well, but it's just on the initial call, you're going to decide to chase 30 people.
Right.
Versus the silver bullet method, you might only chase 15. All right? So the amount of time, we're assuming you're going to spend about 30 minutes calling these people over and over again, trying to get the application in. 60. So that's 1,800 minutes chasing 30 leads in the traditional method versus 900 minutes chasing 15 leads. So you're chasing apps on half the amount of people. Now, obviously, you're saving time, but there's another benefit is that you're probably more likely to get the good apps back if you're focusing your time on the right people than just trying to chase everybody. It's easier to get an application back from somebody who sucks, honestly, right? They want to apply because
They've
they're
got
looking.
the whole package all ready for you because they've already talked to 800 people who've told them no, and they're like, wrong.
They're like, please, I'll apply. I'll waste an hour of my life and 10
They don't
hours
even have
of
to
yours.
waste. They just hit forward because they got
Right.
it all prepackaged from the person before. I know those people.
So as you're seeing, this really starts to build and grow in the amount of time that you're going to be investing in it, right? So out of that, you get back those 30 apps. You actually get back 30 applications. You submit it to underwriting, and they issue a letter of intent. So we're sort of estimating here that out of the 30, you're going to get about 18 letters of intent. Wait, no.
No,
What is
you
this?
get 18 apps from the 30. You'll get about 18
You chase
back.
30, you get 30 apps in.
Yeah, you get 30 apps out, 18 comes back, and you send to underwriting.
Right. Now, in the silver bullet method, you chase 15 and you're getting 9 back. So you're looking in the end, you could submit 18 applications to underwriting or 9 applications to underwriting. And it definitely sounds like, well, 18 is definitely better than 9. All that hustling is paying off. I get in double the apps, but they're more likely to be the crappy apps instead of the good ones. There's a real difference in quality on the applications you're submitting in underwriting, whether you're focusing on the good clients who it might take them more time for you to talk to them or convince them or more touches in order to get that app in because they're a better client, somebody you want to work with more. So as the time goes, you're starting to see that it builds more and more and more and more. You submit 18 applications to underwriting, and they come back and give you a letter of intent on 6. I think that's a reasonable ratio for the traditional method. Meanwhile, for the silver bullet method, what we're showing here is you actually end up getting 6 LOIs. So you submit a 9 for 6 and 18 for 6. I see this all the time. Somebody chases everybody, and they submit all this junk, and they're only able to get a few LOIs out.
And let me tell you this, underwriting will like you more too if you help pre-screen those deals and they're working your deals
Right.
faster. So you're saving them time too. So your LOIs will come back. It could be the same 6 leads. It could be a few different leads. We don't know, but underwriting is going to know, and they'll be a lot happier to work with you and find ways to structure deals with you because they'll have more time too.
I would say definitively out of the 6 LOIs you issued on each one, they're not going to be the same. You're going to be having better quality clients under the silver bullet method, and you're more likely to get a bunch of crappy LOIs where they just barely qualified. You know, just say, well, this guy just barely qualifies for a $200,000 loan, and if just 1 or 2 things goes wrong during the process, we're going to kick it out, versus you're probably going to be getting stronger LOIs issued by getting rid of the coming clients and focusing on the good ones. So I see these 6 LOIs in these 2 circumstances being very different. And it was way less time issued in order to get the silver bullet LOIs. All right, so once you get your LOIs out, then they got to come back and you have to invest a good amount of time in order to actually get these things funded. We sort of estimated an extra 2 hours of work over time per funding. And what you'll notice is these things cross, right? Because you have better LOIs going out and you're investing more time in the right people, you're going to get more funding. So I think the difference here is, maybe you get a 1% conversion through the traditional method, you end up getting 1 funding, versus a 2% conversion through the silver bullet method. That's double the conversion. That's double the commission for maybe 60% of the time that you issued, right?
Yeah, so when we were running the numbers on this, I think you end up saving about 38% of your time, or gaining 38% of your time so that you can have to spend that on marketing or working with better leads or things like that, I think is the actual breakdown.
Right, I believe with these exact numbers, it came out to 84 and a half hours invested in order to get 1 funding with the traditional method because of all that tail chasing, versus something around 50 some hours in the silver bullet method. And you may be thinking, that's an extra 35 hours
Almost
or
a whole
whatever
week.
it is. That's a lot of time. And again, it goes back to the benefits before. What could you be doing with that time? Getting better lead sources, being a better, resource for the ones that you want to work with, or heck, just having fun, doing
Being
what
a
you
better
want to do,
person.
right? Maybe work less, be happier, right?
Right.
This is real stuff, guys. I'm not just making this up. If you're chasing crummy deals, you end up exhausted and you don't have the time that you need to invest in the right clients where you're going to make all the money. Or maybe you're chasing deals where you're only going to get a $1,000 commission versus one where you can get a $10,000 commission. That is the real difference here, and that's the whole purpose of private money lending. Work with deals that other people don't want, that have more commission. Don't waste your time on the conforming loans where you got 82 brokers calling the same person and you're battling over an eighth of a point, right? So before we get into the question, so now we're going to go into the 5 silver bullet questions. There's a lot of build up here. 5 silver bullet questions that you use to kill the time-sucking vampires, even though vampires don't die from silver bullets. But in this world, they do, right?
In Tim's world, anything is possible.
Everything is possible.
Anything is possible with Tim.
All right, Rhoda, what is the first silver bullet question you can ask that gets rid of all the leads that you don't want?
Is it owner-occupied?
Okay, all right. So we're talking about private money real estate. Owner-occupied loans, that's conforming loans. They're going to be going to a bank. They're going to have a bazillion and one people chasing them. You're going to be battling over an eighth of a point. We don't even want that business. It's counterintuitive. They're a better borrower. They're maybe, right? But you don't want it.
Too many regulations.
Too many regulations, too many
Dodd-Frank.
laws, not enough money.
Nope.
Don't waste your life and your time chasing this, right? So, boom, that's out of there. You probably just got rid of 30% of the applicants.
Say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can't help you.
Sorry, we don't do that.
Call Wells Fargo.
Thanks a lot. Okay, bye. All right, so that's silver bullet number 1. Silver bullet number 2.
What's it worth? Is it worth over $200,000? If it's not worth over $200,000,
Then it doesn't fit for us, and frankly, you know, I mean, is it worth your time, right? If it's not even worth 200 grand, tell you, we get a lot of people that say, hey, I've got a collection of 12 homes in downtown Detroit. They're all worth $35,000 a piece. I bought them for $5,000 at a tax auction, and that's cool, but we don't want to land on that.
We love Detroit.
Hopefully it is, but you know, there's just not a lot of money in doing these little loans. Right? You're going to get a $200 commission. Why waste your time when you could be working on a $1 million loan? So, is it worth $200,000? What we don't say here is, you know, you're going to find out the value. And if they say it's worth $10 million or something super high too, you want to screen it out. But you get way more on the low side, and that's going to save you a lot of time. All right, next question, silver bullet number 3.
Then this one is critical for the loan to value. Do the liens exceed 50% of the value?
Right, so they just told you the value of the property. Let's say they said it's worth $500,000. And you're asking, what are the total liens against the property? It may take them a little time to tell you the answer. You can help them figure it out. But we're looking for the current liens exceed 50%. So $500,000 property, what's the total liens you could have? Rhodes?
What? Sorry, I was thinking about property types and I went off. I was letting you talk.
Okay, $500,000 property.
$250,000.
$250,000, right? If they come back and tell you, yeah, I got a first mortgage for $300,000 and I got a second from this guy and I got a contractor lien, and you're like, you know, let me just stop you right there. I'm sorry. Looks like that's outside our range. Because even if it's right at 50, it's going to be questionable because there's going to be fees on top, you know. We really cap out at 65% best case scenario on residential. So this is an easy one. And frankly, I've gotten to the point where I love getting rid of these leads. I say, oh, you want to get 80% financing? No, okay, bye. All right, let them move on. Let people fight over that.
Sometimes, though, if they want 80%, they'll take 50. So this is a delicate balance of what they want, what they qualify for. I want to point that out too.
Right, but if their liens exceed 50%,
I thought you said they want 80%.
Yeah, everybody wants all sorts of crazy stuff. But yeah, we just can't. You're not going to do it. So you don't spend the next 2 weeks chasing an app and beating your head against a wall. It's done. Just let it go. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't say, hey, do you have other real estate you could tack on, or, you know, bring in other things. There's a way around it. But if their current liens are over 50%, that thing's done. You just saved yourself some time. You should be happy. Like, bing, go ring a bell. All right, what's your next, what's silver bullet number 4, Rhodes?
Do you have other offers, or what other options do you have?
Okay, all right. Well, why do you want to know what other options somebody has? How does this help you out?
Well, if somebody is at B of A and they've got traditional lending, you need to know that because you're never going to close a private hard money loan for someone who qualifies for a bank, or just to know what you're up against.
Yeah, you know what? One thing that borrowers love to do is tell you, you know, I got another offer that's way less than your offer, you know, in order to try to get you to negotiate it down. And it's just easy. We say, oh, you got another offer. Great, go take that. We're not going to be able to compete with that. And if it's real, they'll go do it. And if it's not real, we just called their bluff, and they come back, and you can give them a real offer that they can actually do something with.
Sometimes I call that the Ed McMahon offer, like, oh, they just won $1 million from Publishers Clearinghouse. No, they didn't. Because people will say, I have had a friend, he's like, oh, he was a CPA. He had someone who said they won the Publishers Clearinghouse, and it was just the envelope. So careful on their other offer if it's real or it's the Ed McMahon offer.
Right, and this is a good chance to kind of go in and set an expectation for the rates and terms that we have. Our lowest interest rate is going to be 12, really more like 13%, and we have points and everything on the front. And if you mention this and they're like, oh, I was expecting 9% or something, they'll say, oh, great, go get that. And if you don't, come back. And you just saved yourself a lot of time. Do you really want to go through all the work to issue an LOI on a great property or a great borrower? Well, they will never take it. So underwriting hates you. The client doesn't get anything out of it. You definitely don't get paid, so what's the point? And the last but not least, what's the final silver bullet?
What is your timeline?
Timeline. Okay, well, what do we care? We just say, I need it by tomorrow.
Okay, well, good luck.
What are some of the examples of
If
the
you
answers?
realize that sometimes people, they do need it very quickly, and they need it to make payroll or something like that. And these generally don't fund that quickly. So if they've got about a month or they've got a project down the road, this is a good fit.
Yeah, now we can fund deals pretty quickly, but they're going to need to have an appraisal already that we can put into our name. They're going to need to have opened title, so we know there's no title issues. You can bring us a deal where you've got an appraisal and title already and it's clean and ready to go. We can fund the thing in a couple days. So timeline, we can do short timelines, but you heard some big ifs there. If they don't have an appraisal and they have an open title, God knows what's going to happen. If they have to have it by Friday because they have a foreclosure sale date of Friday and it's Tuesday already and they don't have these things, then don't waste your time. Okay, don't even bother bringing in the application. You just saved yourself a lot of time there.
And I want to say another thing, like if someone says some of these things, then you just mark them as follow-up, and then as we'll see, or the time that you've saved, you do have time to follow up with those people and say, did you meet your deadline? Are you still looking for money? And so you can follow up with those old leads that were interested but not really interested at that time, and then in a couple weeks you'll have time to call them. Whereas before, maybe you didn't have the time because you were talking to people for too long.
Right, now in this one I get a lot of fake answers, frankly. I get a lot of times people say, oh, I have to have this money by next Friday. And so I immediately ask, okay, great. Well, if that doesn't happen, what happens? Because they create if that happens, then, and then you find out if it's a real deadline, like it's a foreclosure sale, or if it's just, my partner said I had to have it by then because he needs the money by then. Well, if you don't have the money for another week, is he still going to wait for you? Yeah, he'd probably, so it's not a real timeline. So you got to dig into this and find out, is it a real timeline or not?
I'm going to blow that chat up. Can you read it?
No. Darren, why don't you read off we got a comment there that's a little small, so I can't read it. From Zeppelin?
If you have access to a cold call of business owners, I can't read it.
Yeah, so Zeppelin wants to know if you have access to a cold call list of business owners, would it be worth it to call them to convert them to customers, and how many cold calls should you make a week?
Okay, that's a great question. This sounds like a business funding question, not necessarily related to the silver bullets of real estate lending, but I'm more than happy to answer it. I'm going to give you the shortest answer possible. I believe what I've learned over the last 12 years, in general, there's 3 different sales structures for funding offices or funding brokers, right? You got somebody who works warm referrals. It's sort of a white glove approach. That's one way. The next way is working internet leads, and that's kind of what we're talking about here, is working internet leads with a 1 to 2% conversion rate. That's very reasonable for leads that you buy somewhere or you do your own internet marketing. And then the third one is cold calling. These are all very different structures, and I've learned that it's a real mistake to try to take somebody who does one and have them do another. So if you're asking about this, I assume you have cold calling experience, and then you already kind of know the answer on how many dials. I know cold callers that set up machines to do, $200 dials an hour, and then they only talk to the people that actually answer the phone. It's a very difficult type of business. If you don't have experience in it, I would not say try now on businesses. There's so many funding shops cold calling business owners on like merchant cash advances that you're really fighting inertia. think about the type of funding sales you've done in the past, and I would try to do something that's more in line with that so you understand the ratios and timeline. If you're working warm referrals, and when we say invest your time getting better lead sources so that you can start funding 1 out of 10 instead of 1 out of 100, and you move up to that more white glove approach, which is really, this is where we tell all our member offices to go. That's the goal for everybody to get there. You're taking fewer calls, you're giving great service, and you make way more money. Cold calling is super hard, and I think you make the least, and it's the opposite of what I'm saying, because you're chasing everything, trying to get a deal. So I hope that was a good answer. Anything you want to add to that, Rhoda?
Yeah, if you do business funding, and this is for people who have real estate, we do have another YouTube, I don't know what number it is, about the 5 questions to ask to businesses that Tim goes over, and it's a great show as well. So check that out.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Any other questions or comments, feel free to throw that in. But this is pretty much what we wanted to cover today. To sum it up, you are wasting your life and your energy and your happiness chasing crappy leads. It's the truth. It's the truth. You know what?
Away with words, doesn't he?
Like, I can't tell you how many people I've seen burn out and give up because they spend all this time chasing their tail, and then they find out they got nothing. Or, in my experience, one of the top mistakes that a funding broker does is they think, I want to make more money, I need to work more hours and call more people and chase harder. And they get in a loop where it becomes impossible. They're working 12 hours a day, calling everybody and their brother. They're doing a lot of work and making a lot of noise, like the funding specialists during the downturn when they were working super hard, bringing in a ton of apps, but nothing's getting funded. If you feel like you're in that box, then you need to find something easier to sell and start killing off the crappy customers. This is especially risky if you are brokering to lots of lenders. And they all have different underwriting criteria, and so it feels like you've got a solution for everybody. Well, you don't really know their criteria and all the different reasons they're going to kill your deal, and you invest all this time into so many clients and brokering and cross-brokering, and let me take it over there, and you're just chasing your tail with crappy leads. So,
there you go.
You can tell this is a super important thing to me because it's going to make you end up quitting. So, all right.
We got one more comment. Can't read it. Too small.
Frank says, can I have all the crappy leads, the ones that you have killed? All right. So, Frank wants to sell them credit repair. What's interesting is that our private money loans are what other people would consider crappy leads, right? We take people with horrible credit, might be in bankruptcy, might be in foreclosure, might be might be a goat farm, might be out on bail, right? But if there's equity in the property to us, it's an awesome lead. So somebody else's trash could be your treasure. So what I mean is you really want to understand what your treasure is and make it something that other people don't want, so everybody wins. Give them to Frank, right?
Everybody wins.
All right, good. Well, we're going to wrap it up for the day. If you don't have any more questions, come back and join us next week for one of the most requested shows. We haven't done it yet, but we're going to be doing it now. We're going to do a whole show just on 100% CLTV financing. That is the ability to get 100% lending for a purchase of a real estate property. Now, it's not a loan for 100%. It's something a little bit different. If you're interested, come back. People love this when they figure out what they can do with it. We're going to have David on the show, and we're going to dig in deep. How do you get 100% CLTV? That's 100% combined loan to value for acquisitions. That means you could literally buy a property with no money down using our lending. We are doing these loans right now. If something that you might want or your clients might want, make sure to come on and we'll talk about it then. But that's it. Thanks for coming on the show. Subscribe if you're new. Send Rhoda some emails.
The podcast, looking for podcasts.
Wait, what do you want them to do? Tell you about podcasts that they like?
I was talking at the beginning.
I know, but it was like right when they launched the show, so we've got to
listen.
You want them to tell you if they like a podcast.
If they have a favorite podcast they want to share that inspires them for small businesses, I think it's a great way to get information for free.
Awesome. What do you want to do? Email you? Put it in the show notes?
Just put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments.
I point because the screen's down there.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Thanks everyone for coming on. And we look forward to doing a lot more deals together.
Oh, you brought that back.
I brought it back.
You brought it back.
It was time.